Brooks Ratigan, a high school senior on the cusp of graduation, harbored a massive dream. He was hell-bent on becoming absolutely loaded. His aspirations weren't just a whim. They stemmed from his family's past, as his dad, once a booming businessman, had gone belly up ages ago. With his parents divorced, Brooks was navigating life with just his father, and truthfully, their relationship had been pretty rocky ever since the split. At school, Brooks's ride or die was his close pal Murf. This kid was a bona fide coding whiz, practically a wizard when it came to whipping up applications. One afternoon, as the final bell rang, Brooks found himself gawking at the slick BMW that belonged to his classmate Ree. Just as he was soaking it all in, Ree himself appeared, and a silent thought echoed in Brooks's mind. How on earth could he ever get his hands on a sweet ride like that? Back home, his dad offered him a meal, but Brooks, still feeling that emotional chasm between them, politely declined. After shedding his school duds, Brooks headed out to his part-time gig at a local fast food joint, hustling to pad his meager pocket money. Murf was also punching the clock there. During their shift, Brooks spilled the beans, confiding in Murf about his audacious plan to apply to Yale University. He knew it was a pricey endeavor, a real stretch, but Yale was teeming with kids whose parents were bona fide entrepreneurs. Brooks figured if he could just rub elbows with that crowd, maybe he'd catch the entrepreneur bug himself and finally strike it rich. Mid-chat, Ree and one of his buddies rolled in to order some grub. While they waited for their food, Ree casually suggested to his friend that he might want to take his cousin Celia to the school shindig that night, even offering to cover the cost and lend his BMW for the occasion. Brooks, always listening for an opportunity, didn't miss a beat. He immediately piped up, volunteering his services, adding that he wasn't just willing to escort her, but was also ready to play the part of Celia's fake boyfriend. Reese, perhaps amused by Brooks' unexpected eagerness, readily agreed. That evening, Brooks pulled up to Celia's house in Reese's borrowed BMW, and her parents, all smiles and warmth, gave him a hearty welcome. It wasn't long before Celia made her grand appearance, immediately complaining about being coerced into attending the school party. Her folks, however, were unwavering, insisting that it was for her own good, emphasizing that girls shouldn't be tomboy forever and needed to embrace their beauty and soak up their youth. So, begrudgingly, Celia relented. On the drive to the party, Celia floated the idea of ditching the formal event altogether, openly admitting her aversion to the elite school social scene. She grumbled about how all her friends were just rich kids whose sole purpose seemed to be endless partying, constantly snapping photos, showing off, and plastering it all over social media. She was completely fed up with that shallow sickle. But Brooks, ever focused on his newfound job, wasn't having any of it. He was there to fulfill his duties, and that meant getting her to the party. At the bash itself, Celia's frustration only deepened, as her earlier observations proved uncannily accurate. Instead of actually enjoying the party, everyone else seemed totally engrossed in taking pictures. Brooks, ever the professional, smoothly asked Celia to dance. They were actually having a good time when, out of nowhere, the song shifted to a slow tune. Without missing a beat, Brooks, fully committed to his role, continued to gracefully lead Celia across the dance floor. In the thick of the party, Brooks found his gaze fixated on a truly stunning girl named Shelby, his focus utterly shattered. He accidentally stepped squarely on Celia's foot, causing her to wheeze. As he knelt to check on Celia's ankle, Shelby herself strolled over, offering a polite greeting. She casually extended an invitation to leave the current shindig and head to another party at her place, asking if they wanted to tag along. Brooks, ever the smooth operator, quickly spun a tale, explaining that while he would love to, Celia was nursing a sore ankle and just wanted to head home. So, just like that, Brooks found himself leaving the party too. Back at Celia's place, Brooks was genuinely miffed. It turned out Celia could walk perfectly fine on her own. Her injury had been nothing but an act. He couldn't help but feel played, especially since he'd been so keen on getting closer to Shelby. Celia, ever the blunt one, simply shrugged it off, advising him to just forget about Shelby. She asserted that Brooks was totally not Shelby's type, given that she was the daughter of a wealthy socialite, making it clear that someone like Brooks wouldn't stand a chance. Celia warned that it was better to give up now rather than end up getting hurt. As their bickering wound down, Celia's father stepped out, and Celia herself slicked back into the house. With his fake date assignment officially wrapped, Brooks returned Reese's sleek BMW. Ree expressed his gratitude for Brooks accompanying his cousin. Before Brooks could leave, a burning question popped into his head, and he just had to ask Ree how he managed to snag such an expensive car when his parents weren't exactly rolling in dough. Ree, with a casual air, simply explained that he wasn't some spoiled rich kid and that the car was a result of his own hard work and efforts. Reese's words hit Brooks like a lightning bolt, sparking an immediate, brilliant business idea. The very next afternoon, while slinging burgers at the fast food restaurant, Brooks excitedly pitched his newfound venture to Murf. He wanted to launch a fake dating service, a concept he felt had real potential. He asked Murf, his coding guru, to help him build the application. Ever the loyal friend, Murf readily agreed to lend his considerable talents. About a month later, the application was finally ready to roll. In Brooks's room, Murf gave him the full rundown on how the app worked, making it clear it was as simple as ordering food online. Murf even threw in a bonus. He developed another application that would, with every new order, display Brooks's accumulating savings for Yale University, keeping his ultimate goal front and center. And to top it all off, he had already taken the liberty of sharing the fake dating application across various social media platforms, saving Brooks the hassle of promoting it himself. All he had to do now was sit back and wait for the orders to pour in. Hearing Murf's initiative and seeing his dedication, Brooks was genuinely touched and felt a surge of renewed motivation. He was incredibly grateful to have such a good friend like Murf, someone who constantly supported his wildest dreams. That very night, as Brooks was scrolling through Shelby's social media, a notification popped up on his phone. His first fake date order had just come in. Brooks was ecstatic. Week after week, Brooks's fledgling Plus One service started to really take off, with more and more girls queuing up to hire his unique talents. One breezy morning en route to school, his phone buzzed. It was Celia. She was ringing him up to request her services again for a party slated for that very night at Shelby's place. Celia shared that she had clicked with a guy there, someone she was genuinely interested in, and she wanted Brooks to help her connect with him. Brooks, eyeing the chance to rub shoulders with Shelby again, agreed on the spot. He also reminded her that for any future bookings, she could simply order him through the app, making things official. Later that afternoon at the fast food joint, Brooks, still buzzing from the thought of seeing Shelby, tried to chat about her with Murf, but Murf wasn't having any of it. With a surprising bite in his tone, Murf called Brooks out, suggesting that ever since his business had found its groove, Brooks had gotten a bit big for his britches. Murf pointed out that despite seeing each other daily at school, Brooks had barely spoken to him. Hearing that, a wave of guilt washed over Brooks. As an immediate apology, he promised to treat Murf to an unlimited gaming spree at the arcade the following night, a peace offering to smooth things over. That evening, Brooks and Celia rolled up to Shelby's house for the party. When Shelby greeted them at the door, Celia, playing her part to the hilt, casually mentioned that her boyfriend Brooks was a super rich kid who lived in an exclusive elite housing complex. She was suddenly trying to pique Shelby's interest in Brooks. Once Shelby had moved on, Celia pointed out the guy she was keen on. Seeing Celia's shy, lingering gaze at the fellow, Brooks knew it was his cue to step in and work his magic. He smoothly maneuvered Celia towards the guy, facilitating an introduction. And just like that, after a quick hello, Celia and her newfound acquaintance hit it off instantly, discovering they shared the same passion for a particular hobby. They quickly became so engrossed in conversation that Brooks found himself completely out of the loop, practically ignored. Brooks felt a wave of relief that his task was successfully completed, yet a tiny pang of something else. A flicker of jealousy unexpectedly flared within him. As Brooks grabbed a drink, Shelby, sensing an opportunity, sidled up to him. Celia's earlier planting of the rich kid seed had clearly done the trick. Shelby seemed genuinely intrigued, engaging Brooks in conversation that felt like a subtle courtship. After their chat, Brooks found Celia sitting alone, a happy smile on her face. Celia revealed that the guy she met had asked her out for coffee the next night. Brooks felt a genuine surge of happiness for her. As they were getting ready to leave, Brooks confessed his deep desire to get into Yale. Celia, ever helpful, immediately offered to pull some strings, mentioning that her father was tight with the Yale dean and could arrange an appointment for Brooks the very next afternoon. Brooks was beyond grateful. The following afternoon, Celia personally escorted Brooks to the formidable gates of Yale University. After what felt like an eternity in the waiting room, Brooks was finally called into the dean's office. At first, his nerves were jangling like a loose wire, but he'd had a stroke of luck the previous night. He'd managed to dig up the dean's somewhat obscure hobby, beekeeping. Brooks casually dropped into the conversation that he too had a small bee farm. The dean, initially stoic and somewhat detached, instantly transformed. His face lit up with warmth, and he launched into a lengthy animated discussion about bees, completely captivated by Brooks's shared interest. After the interview, the dean was so genuinely friendly that he even personally escorted Brooks out of his office. Before departing, Brooks, still playing the part, mentioned that if he landed a spot at Yale, he'd fake a huge breakup at Shelby's birthday party. Celia agreed, but something inside her tightened. Jealousy, sadness, something fragile. At the party, Brooks acted too well, too cruel. His words cut deeper than he intended. Celia slapped him, walked away with tears burning in her eyes. Shelby comforted him. He finally asked her out. She said yes. But the fantasy shattered quickly. Shelby's life was strict, colorless, suffocating. Their connection felt empty. And when one of her friends exposed Brooks as a fake boyfriend for hire, Shelby dumped him instantly. Alone and humiliated, Brooks finally broke down. He confessed everything to his father. And, for the first time in years, his father held him, proud that his son was trying to change his life. The next day, Brooks apologized to Murf. Murf forgave him. Their friendship returned. Then came Celia. She sat across from him, guarded but listening. Brooks apologized, truly, finally. He said that chasing money and status blinded him to the people who already loved him. He handed her a letter. Inside, Celia read words she never expected. He felt at home with her. He admired her honesty, her light, her warmth. Being with her felt like listening to a beautiful orchestra, natural, calm, perfect. And he hoped she felt the same. That night, Brooks ignored a new booking request. He was done pretending. Then another notification came through. Open the door. He did. Celia stood there, her eyes soft, her smile warm. I want to book you, she said quietly. Brooks laughed. For what? She stepped closer. Not for a fake boyfriend, for a real one. Because in the end, the most beautiful things in life, love, friendship, truth, can only begin with honesty.